Alright, so good day everyone. This is my personal observation and analysis with the transportation issues I've encountered. But before that, let me introduce myself first. I am Mark Angelo P. Base from BSCE 3B. Well, I am originally from Barangay Canapawan, Labo. It is around South Road that is almost near to the municipality of Santa Elena. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to go home due to the number of tasks and activities needed to accomplish since we have events that just concluded lately. So I am currently residing here in Daet, staying in my apartment at Urbana Street, Barangay Dos. So for you all to fully visualize what's in the picture here is the map. So since it is just near to school, it will just take 10 to 15 minutes. Just a disclaimer, the photos I put here is mostly taken in Centro since when I did my documentation, I went first to Centro to buy some things. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so beginning with slow moving vehicles disrupting traffic flow. So most of the time, even I'm just currently residing here in Daet, truly that traffic is very inevitable. So especially during rush hours, given that we only have two lanes here and yet the number of vehicles are so many, mostly it is the tricycles and motorcycle that dominates much on the traffic. And as a commuter, like even when I am just going to Centro, I often experience sudden slowdowns just because we stuck behind the tricycle going below average speed and there's usually no room to overtake safely because of oncoming traffic, and in which this not only delays travel but also leads to unsafe overtaking behaviors, especially by impatient drivers. Next is unregulated street vendors obstructing roads. So as we walk here in Daet, especially near provincial capital, we pass by areas where street vendors set up their stalls right along the edge of the road and sometimes even partially on the roadway itself, like food stalls, fruit stands, or even small shops on push carts. Yes, I do understand that these vendors rely on daily sales for their livelihood, but the way they occupy the roads, especially in high traffic, creates obstructions to both vehicle and pedestrian movements. Instead of having a clear sidewalk, you will see vehicles swerving to avoid stalls or stopping immediately, which increases the risk of accidents. What's worse is that there seems to be no regulation or designated spaces for them, so they just set up wherever they can, even if it disrupts traffic flow. Unregulated illegal parking obstructing roads. Another issue I frequently encounter is illegally parked vehicles along the road, especially in residential or commercial areas. These vehicles are often parked on the sidewalks or sometimes even directly on one side of the road. So, since they are left unattended, they force moving vehicles to swerve into the opposite lane, which increase the risk of head-on collision. This issue is made worse by the lack of enforcement. Like there are no visible no parking signs, or if there are, they are ignored. So without proper regulation, it is become a daily norm, but it is one that clearly compromises traffic flow. Next is the lack of proper enforcement of traffic laws. I'm sure most of us have observed the situation in the elevated near Palenque, in which the traffic light there is not properly working. Because of this, it has become a matter of relying on instincts or simply giving way to one another. But for those of us who want to cross the street, it becomes really challenging, especially for those who are afraid to do so. We don't know when it is safe to cross because there is no signal to guide us. Sometimes we even have to walk to another pedestrian lines just because the traffic light is working properly there. Poorly maintained roads with potholes and cracks. Another one of the most common problems I encounter during is the poor condition of the roads, especially in areas where maintenance seems to be neglected. I pass through routes where the way is full of potholes, uneven surfaces, and long cracks that make travel not only uncomfortable but also dangerous. These defects force drivers to slow down or suddenly swerve to avoid damaging their vehicles, which disrupts the flow of traffic and increases the risk of accidents, especially for motorcycle riders and cyclists. Even a small pothole can lead to loss of control and serious injuries. And what's frustrating is that many of these potholes have been there for a long time. Temporary fixes like filling them with gravel just get washed away after the rain and no long-term repair is done. The longer these problems are left unattended, the more costly and dangerous they become for everyone who relies on these roads daily. Flood-prone roads that become impassable during heavy rains, especially during the rainy season. There are specific spots along the road. So, in this image, it is around near the provincial capital where even just a few hours of rainfall can lead to flooding. It is not just an inconvenience, it is a safety risk. Vehicles break down, commuters are forced to wade through dirty water. For students like me, it becomes an extra stress just thinking about whether I will make it to school on time or at all. Poorly designed drainage systems leading to road flooding. In connection with the flood prone roads I mentioned earlier, I've also observed that one of the main causes of road flooding is the presence of poorly designed or poorly maintained drainage systems. In many areas here in Daet that we pass through, you can see that the canals are clogged with trash or that the road doesn't have enough drainage inlets to handle even moderate rainfall. Sometimes the water has nowhere to go. The road is flat, the drainage is shallow, or the slope doesn't guide the water away from the surface. This causes water to accumulate quickly, resulting in flooding within minutes of a heavy downpour. I know that in some other areas also that even if there are drainage systems, they are not regularly cleaned or they are placed ineffectively, like too high or too far from the road level. So this makes them useless during extreme weather. Next is bridge in need of repair or reinforcement. This is something we can currently observe at the Daat Bridge where both our Bridge 1 and 2 are under construction. What saddens me is that it seems it will take a longer time before everything is fully repaired or renovated. For now, we can't really do anything but wait. We are all aware that the ongoing construction on the bridge in the diversion road has caused multiple accidents and sadly has even taken the lives of some. This situation doesn't only affect the flow of traffic but also puts many people at risk of serious accidents. Smoke emitted by vendors may lead to accident. As I go to elevated or some of us called HEPA lane, I also notice another less obvious but still concerning issue. Smoke emissions from food vendors, especially those selling barbecue by the roadside. I know these vendors are just making a living, but the smoke they produce can drift into the road and reduce visibility for our drivers. I've personally seen how thick smoke can momentarily blind oncoming traffic, especially motorcyclists and tricycle drivers who don't have enclosed vehicles. The smoke doesn't just cause discomfort, it poses a serious hazard. Yes, this might seem like a small issue at first glance, but if not addressed, it can lead to both minor mishaps and major accidents, especially that the roadway there is very tight. Road closure due to construction or repairs. Another one is sudden road closure caused by ongoing constructions or road repairs. Yes, infrastructure improvements are necessary, but the way these closures are managed or sometimes not managed properly often causes confusion, traffic build-up, and delays. Failure to modernize public transport systems in line with growing demand. As someone who commutes a lot, also as I'm from Labo, one issue that I see is the failure to modernize our public transportation system. Despite the fact that the number of commuters keep growing, many of the jeepneys, tricycles, and buses we rely on are outdated, overcrowded, and not well maintained. Instead of seeing improvements over time, it often feels like we're stuck with the same system that's been in place for decades and it's struggling to keep up with the present day demands. Rush hours feel like a race just to get a seat. Vehicles are frequently delayed, overloaded, or uncomfortable, and routes are often limited or inconsistent. From my experience, this lack of modernization doesn't just cause inconvenience. We waste time in long waits, can be risk exposure to pollution or harsh weather, and sometimes experience unsafe rides due to vehicle disrepair. Another one is the electrical cables that may be within reach of large trucks. The presence of low hanging electrical cables, especially along narrow roads where large trucks pass. These cables are sometimes improperly installed, which puts them dangerously close to the roofs or cargo of tall vehicles like delivery trucks or construction equipment. This creates a serious safety hazard not only for the drivers but even for the people who will walk around. Next is the increasing number of street vendors along roadways. Another issue is the growing number of street vendors setting up along the roadsides. Most of them occupy sidewalks or even parts of the road, leaving less space for people to walk safely and forcing pedestrians to step onto the street. This increases the risk of accidents. At the same time, these stalls can cause congestion for vehicles. And for my last, risky cargo loads that may fall and cause accidents. During movements, especially when vehicles hit potholes, make sharp turns, or brake suddenly, the cargo starts shifting or tilting. There is always a real risk that something could fall off and hit another vehicle, block the road, or worse, injure someone. I personally have seen drivers get startled or forced to swerve just to avoid falling or swaying cargo. It is stressful and dangerous, especially for smaller vehicles like motorcycles or tricycles that share the same road space. So that's conclude the pictures I get to document. Thank you so much and thank you for watching.